right, let's get into our next discussion now. In the last 3 years, Nigeria's external debt commitment has risen by $11.77 billion. Debt statistics made available by the Debt Management Office says that the country's external debt rose from $10 billion in June 30, 2015 to $22 billion as of June 30 this year.
And apart from the World Bank Group, Nigeria is also exposed to some other multilateral organizations, just like, such as the African Development Bank, the African Development Fund, and China. It's no secret at all that China has increased its footprint on the African continent with heightened influence and economic, trade and security arrangements with various nations. On a positive note, this new relationship between the emerging Asian giant and African countries has been characterized as a mutually beneficial arrangement and a departure from the imperialist exploitation of Europe and the United States.
Well, however, in some cases, the Sino-African cooperation may assume the look and feel of a lopsided deal, which some would regard as new colonialism based on debt obligations that African nations cannot repay, rather than an economic partnership among equals. Now, we'll take a look at, is it a win-win situation, or is it a win-lose situation, or a lose-win situation, as the case may be? All of those are there. We still have Dr. John joining us right here to discuss this. Now, Dr. The issue of debt, a lot of Nigerians are still skeptical about the intention, the main intention, the undertones, the underlinings in Chinese loans.
Yes, loan generally, or debt generally, when you want to take it, it's like going to buy the pork meat on credit. You know, the pork meat is always oily and very sweet for those who like to enjoy it. You understand? So it's always like that. But the undertone, it's when they begin to now pursue you to pay back, or when you now see the interest, that you now begin to worry. Unfortunately, because of the need always blindfold people from seeing all the intricacies that are involved in debt repayment and payment. So it's usually like that, personally, nationally, or even internationally.
Yeah,
so
the real question really that people are asking, and what concerns a lot of people, is this deal, is it a deal between two equals? I mean, China has said, look, there are no strings attached, but the issues have been raised as to the Chinese attitude towards debt. Somebody like Ezekwesili has said it's a bad deal. It's something that our leaders should really not be naive about. They need to ensure that they cross the T's and dot the I's, so that they're not caught unawares.
Yes, I think majorly, first let's put it in perspective. The first thing is that, do we actually as a people need this loan at this point in time?
Definitely.
If yes, if we cannot survive without the loan, to what extent are we developing the nation with the loan? Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to come out to materialize. Have we actually used the loan for the purpose in which the loan was made for? Nigeria will never be afraid. I am never afraid that we are going to have issues of paying back. We are blessed to the point of paying back. But at the end of the day, my fear may turn to a regret if at the end of the day we have the capacity really to pay back and we have not used the loan for the right assignment and the right purpose. So the major challenge is not whether whether Nigeria will be able to pay back. We have the capacity. And what do I mean? In a nation of 180 million people, the worst thing that can happen is to tax the people the more and get the loan paid. So we have the animals in place to pay the loan. And the animals are you and I. Either we like it or not. Either we get, yes.
What a way.
Yes.
What is the truth? What a way to classify that.
I'm sure a lot of Nigerians will take offense at that.
But that's the reality.
What you're saying is, what you're calling them is their beasts of burdens that will have to, be at the receiving end. That will bear the cost.
Either you accept it or not, the philosophy behind government is to put the burden of tax payment on the people so that they get the project across to the people. But what should bother you now is not even the burden of taxation. What should bother you is at the end of the day, if you are burdened with taxation and the money enters into a wrong pocket, which is what has happened over the years.
Now, in this case, who should we even be more concerned or be more cynical?
Is
it China? Is it China? Or is it even our leaders?
Yeah.
I think the problem majorly is with our leaders. That's just the problem. Number one, when you see some negotiations that they make, you are like, oh, or for example, if you see a project that they embark on, you try to compare it with what happened in other parts of the world. For example, if you are building a road of $5 billion, you are wondering, or 1 billion naira, for example, you are wondering if you convert this money to dollars and you compare it with a road in, not even in the US, in Canada, you compare it and you are wondering, the longest bridge now costs just a little above $1 billion or thereabout. Yeah. But if we have that same amount of money in Nigeria, I tell you that it may not be able to build us Fort Mainland Bridge. So the fear now is not even with the other side that is offering money. The fear is with us, because either Nigeria gets the money or not, China money will still find its way to Africa. Between year 2000 and 2014 alone, China has given out about $86 billion to all African countries. So either Nigeria takes it, assess the loan or not, they will still have their influence. And now when you want to be a world power, it's not just by building security. And that's the target of China. It's not just about building security within your own zone. It's also about extending your influence on developing countries. As we are in the world today, Africa is the best place to invest because it's an emerging market. People are still sleeping in Africa, while the other people are coming to Africa to take advantage.
Don't forget when Macron was here, you know, some months back, he actually said that if Africa is neglected, the chances of Europe surviving will be very, very slim.
And that is why immediately...
But are leaders even looking at it that way? Are they saying, do they really understand?
I think they do, because to a certain extent now, some of these deals with China is generating a lot of jealousy on the part of the West. And that's why once we enter into any deal with China, you see somebody fly into Nigeria or fly into Nairobi in Kenya. Because either we like it or not, we talk about Nairobi in the east, we talk about South Africa. In the south, we talk about Nigeria and some other country. So it's actually generating a lot of jealousy, and we need to take advantage of this jealousy.
Let's even look at some of what these loans are meant for. For ICT, the $322 million is expected to help, ICT sector, industrial promotion, infrastructure, connectivity, trade facilitation, and of course, create a lot of developments that will provide employment for the teeming population.
Yes, unfortunately, you cannot totally and wholly develop the ICT sector without fixing the electricity. So this is one major challenge, because it's an energetic sector when you talk about the ICT. And that will take care of about 50 to 60% of your population. So any investment into ICT is a right investment. So far you are able to get your homework very well. And what's the homework we're talking about? We're talking about power generation. Because now you wrap your head around all the innovation in the ICT sector. Take out electricity. It's going to push you back to square zero. We started, my friend and I started a very small firm that we are into mentoring and ICT and all that. At the end of the month, that we started July 2017. At the end of January 2017, that we tried to take stock, we discovered that 60% of what came in actually went on diesel and fuel and everything. And about maybe 40 or 45%, because at the end of the day, we were 5% down. Not even up, went for staff salary. So if you are fixing the electricity, if you are fixing ICT with the intent of taking care of the majority of your population, you will have taken them backward if you do not fix the issue of power sector. So every investment we are making into ICT now, I think somebody should be seated somewhere and thinking that all these things may go down the drain if we do not fix the power sector. All right.
Now, some international scholars have said that loans to Africa have been used as a weapon of underdevelopment. Now, if you check every year, African countries, in fact, all the African countries, especially the sub-Saharan African countries, get loans. Every year they get loans. Every year they get loans. And then they have this little mechanism of paying back gradually. Like we have about 2 trillion in our budget every year, to repay loans and all of that. Now, would it be healthy to look at it from that perspective as to the more we keep getting these loans, certainly we won't be able to see that development that we really want to see?
Even in the philosophy of man itself, you discover that if you study the life of successful people, you discover that successful people really are people who don't have access to free money. These are people who know that at the end of the day, nobody is going to dash me money, and they do all they can to manage the little resources at their disposal. Unfortunately, our nation and our people are opposite of that. So at the end of the day, we know that if you get money and some few set of people steal it, that tomorrow we can still run to another multilateral agency or government agency or development bank and get more loan. So the more money we get, the more poverty we actually get into. It's so ironic. Now, it has discouraged or has disrupted our thinking ability as a nation. That's why we are not making use of the resources we have the way we are supposed to make use of them, because we are thinking that by tomorrow. Unfortunately, the people that get this loan are not the same set of people that will pay back. So they are not concerned totally about payback. They get a loan of 20 years tenure, for example. They know that they are going to stay in office for about 7 or 8 years at most, and they are not going to spend that entire 8 years to pay loan. So they just pay maybe 9 or 8% of the loan. They know that generation after them are coming to pay. So for the scholars that have said that, it's very acceptable. But again, we should know that the hallmark of getting a loan is to develop sectors that will bring in more money. For example, if we develop our road, maybe, I don't want to call it another taxation, and maybe we are tolling people that are making benefit and making gain on the road, and we are getting the money to develop other sectors. That will have been a plus. Unfortunately, if you toll the road today, why did they destroy the toll gates in the first place? It was because the monies were going into the wrong pocket. So if you toll the road, for example, you cannot be certain and sure that the money generated there will go into right venture and enterprises. So the problem we have is traditional. Traditional in the sense that we are all built to believe that that there's more blessedness in receiving than giving, either we like it or not. That's how we are built to be. And traditionally, also, anything that does not concern now does not concern us as a people, that's because we are a now people.
So it will now be left to the future generations.
To the future generation.
To find how
Nigeria still needs
the countries like China, the creditor nations, whether it's China, US, or whichever one, that agreed to give Nigeria these loans, would you say that they have done a thorough job of checking out whether Nigeria truly is credit-worthy? Because you would think that that would be part of...
Yes, Nigeria has... When you're talking about
unless, of course, you're saying...
You cannot get to any
Nigeria
bank.
will always be credit-worthy.
Always. You can't get to a bank, for example, even as an individual, and want to access loan. The first thing the bank looks at is, do you have the capacity? How much do you earn? Okay, you earn 50,000. Okay, you can actually get 20,000. But I tell you that every bank in the world will hastily give loan to Nigeria because we have the capacity. Either we see it is another thing entirely.
Wow. Okay. So as it is right now, like they say, someone was doing all the mathematics and said that every Nigerian, you owe China 15,000 naira.
You will pay.
I owe China 15,000.
Yes, you will pay. Either you like it or not, you will pay. But I will gladly pay. But I will gladly pay if I drive from my Ikorodu abode to this place, for example, on a very smooth road. If I'm not afraid that somebody is going to rob me because there are street lights and camera, I'll be willing to pay. So that underscores the need for us to be afraid of our leaders more than we are afraid of those that are giving us money.
Let's leave it here now. Dr. John, Leadership and Communication Strategist. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, as always.
You're welcome.